Good evening. The Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Board of Trustees is now convened in a special board meeting on Monday, February 4th, 2019 in the boardroom of the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Instructional Support Center located at 10300 Jones Road, Houston, Texas at 6 p.m. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our television viewers to this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As the Cypress-Fairbanks Board of Trustees, we're here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting, Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. And prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by sections 551.071 through 551.084 of the Texas Government Code. These proceedings are airing live on CFTV Channel 16 and on CFTV Online on the district website. They will be rebroadcast throughout the month on Channel 16 and available as video on demand on the website. For the tape to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are in turned off or silent mode. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District. At this time, the Long Range Planning Committee will report on the results of the long-range planning process and present a recommendation for a bond referendum. Our presenters tonight, Dr. Henry and company.
Thank you, Dr. Ogletree and trustees. Thank you for this opportunity to come this evening and have our long-range planning committee present to you. And you know, one of the things I like about Cypher ISD is that when it comes to the school district, all different sections of the community come together and they know the value of a strong public school system, not only to the economy of the area, but also for the growth of churches, the growth of businesses, to have a good place to retire, to maintain good home values so that the property you buy maintains its value. And we had a group of very diverse people across this district. And the thing, again, I love about the district, we had retired folks, business folks, faith-based people. We had parents, and we had students that participated on our committee. And it was really an enjoyable time, and it always renews my faith in Cypher ISD just to get to know these folks. No matter what recommendation they come up with, it's just great to fellowship with such a great group of people. And we were proud this time to have Julie Heineman kind of head up our group. And so I'm going to turn it over at this time to Julie and let her make the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Henry. Before I begin the official presentation, I want to also thank you all again, the members of the committee, for the many hours that we spent going over all that data and all the questions, and your commitment and your service to the community is very much appreciated. So thank you. Yeah, Please stand so we can recognize you. Thank you. Yes. The purpose of the Long Range Planning Committee was to evaluate input and needs in identified areas presented by the district administration and to develop consensus on a long-range plan recommendation that will be presented to you tonight. After many hours of discussions and review of the various needs, the Long Range Planning Committee developed a final recommendation for this board's consideration. The charge of the committee was to develop a fiscally responsible proposal that would address the growing needs, security, and technology upgrades, as well as protect the significant investment in our existing facilities and infrastructure through 2025. The recommendation of the committee is not based on a wish list, but on real needs. The committee met 9 times between November 27th, 2018 and January 31st, 2019, and we ask that the board approve the recommendations that we will present to you this evening. The total recommendation of the Long Range Planning Committee is $1,762 million, as shown on the slide. It is important to note that the committee reviewed over $2.6 billion of true needs for the district, which was reduced by over $900 million to arrive at this recommended amount. Our committee truly believes that these are real needs in order to effectively address the safety and security of our students, the protection of our existing facilities, necessary improvements in technology, and the continued growth of the Cypress area. The recommendation is broken into 5 categories as follows: instructional and support facilities, safety and security, transportation, technology, and facilities renovations and additions. The first category is instructional and support facilities. The committee is recommending a total of $258,208,345 in this area. This includes new schools to accommodate increases in projected student enrollment through 2025 and other support facilities to address the district's overall growth. This recommendation includes 2 new campuses. Elementary number 59 would be in the far southwest portion of the district and would provide enrollment relief to M. Robinson, Sheridan, and Wilson elementary schools. Middle school number 20 would be located at the Bridgeland High School multi-campus complex and would provide enrollment relief to Smith Middle School. A district-wide performing arts center was included in the recommendation to address the growing kindergarten through 12th grade fine arts programs: band, choir, orchestra, dance, and theater. There are over 1,600 fine arts events held annually, and approximately 180 of these events are held at local venues outside of the district due to the lack of adequate space to accommodate all the performances. The proposed Performing Arts Center would include a larger seating capacity than our current district standard for high schools of approximately 800, and the Berry Center Theater of 490. Additionally, this facility would support our elementary and middle school programs that experience significant challenges in securing venues large enough to support their performances. The seating capacity in our newest elementary cafeterias is approximately 300 to 340, and middle school is 500. After much discussion, the committee recommended that the Performing Arts Center be located on the 26-acre site owned by the district that is north of Highway 290 and west of Matskey Road. This is a central location that would provide ease of access for all areas of the district. A new maintenance and operations storage facility is included in the recommendation in order to provide needed enclosed and covered storage for items such as equipment, tools, machines, and materials used by the maintenance, operations, grounds, and aquatic departments. The facility would be located on district-owned property at the Maintenance and Operations Center located on Perry Road. A new instructional support center was included in the recommendation to address the need for additional office and meeting space due to the growth the district has experienced since moving to this facility in 1992. Since 1992, student enrollment has increased by over 70,000. District employees increased over 10,000, and ISC employees over 380. As a result of this growth, the center of the district has also shifted. In 1992, only 26 campuses were located north and west of FM 1960 Highway 6. Today, 68 of our campuses are located north and west of 1960 and Highway 6, with 5 additional campuses projected by 2025. The committee recommends that the new Instructional Support Center be located next to the proposed Performing Arts Center on the 26-acre site at Highway 290 and Maskey Road. Again, this site was selected due to its central location and ease of access for all employees, parents, and community members. The second category is safety and security recommendations. These district-wide facilities upgrades are needed to continue to enhance and improve our current security initiatives. The total for this category is $207,656,706. As you know, the district hired an independent security consultant, True North Consulting Group, to evaluate the district's current security measures and initiatives and to provide recommendations for any improvement and/or enhancements needed. Most of the items included in the committee's recommendation for this category are based on True North's recommendations and priorities. The items to be included are as follows: additional walls and barriers for effective segmentation of open concept floor plans in elementary campuses. Additional installation of impact-resistant glass on all doors and windows facing high traffic areas. Installation of fencing around portable buildings and elementary playgrounds. Additional classroom phones to improve emergency communication. Improvements to existing video intercoms with installation of surveillance cameras dedicated to entry points such as the front entry, loading dock, and food service entry. Installation of additional card readers on exterior doors. Enhancements to security vestibules, such as additional teller windows or other types of barriers at reception desks, and other improvements to increase visual communication with visitors. Additional lockdown buttons, replacement of handheld and walk-through metal detectors for campuses and Cyfair FCU and Pridgeon stadiums. Replacement of classroom door hardware to ensure the ability to lock doors from inside the classroom. Upgrades of the intrusion detection panels and installation of door prop alarms. Enhancements to the PA systems that would allow for zoning capabilities, pre-recorded messages, and distinct sirens for emergency response situations. And installation of highly visible numbers on all exterior windows and doors to assist first responders in emergency situations. Expansion of the Ben Bradley Center, which houses our police department, was identified as a high priority in order to address the growth of the department since its creation in 2011. Since 2014, the department has grown from 68 employees to 138. The expansion would provide additional office space, records storage, increase in the size of the evidence room, reconfiguration of the dispatch center, and a parent reunification room. Additionally, garage bays would be added to the facility for vehicle maintenance, camera installation, and repairs. The safety and security category also includes a police vehicle and radio replacement cycle and upgrades to our dispatch center equipment and consoles. The third category is transportation. The committee is recommending a total of $88,162,655 in this area. The transportation recommendation includes 12-year replacement cycle, which addresses recent safety and security enhancements such as 3-point seat belts, collision avoidance mitigation, electronic stabilization, and lane departure warning systems. Buses to accommodate student enrollment growth, construction of a new transportation center in the northwestern portion of the district, and upgrades to our current GPS hardware system. The fourth category is technology. Continued improvements in the district's technology infrastructure and classroom technology were identified as critical needs. The committee is recommending $238,980,763 for these two areas. The instructional technology recommendation includes a replacement cycle for our existing classroom technology and installation of instructional technology at new campuses. New instructional technology initiatives include installation of wireless devices on interactive display boards, which allow teachers to interact with the board and support students from anywhere in the classroom. Installation of one foreign language lab at each high school, and devices with filtered internet access for each campus that students would be allowed to check out from the campus library as needed. Upgrades to the existing sound system in the PE and music areas, flex space technology, additional technology such as vocational and communication carts, upgrades to audiology equipment, and increases in Read 180 devices to support special education needs, and technology to accommodate trainings and staff development at instructional support facilities. The recommendation for technology services includes replacement and enhancement of technology infrastructure to accommodate student growth, and implementation of cybersecurity measures. The final category evaluated by the committee was facility renovations and additions. This category is broken into subcategories of career and technical education, fine arts, athletics, support facilities, and asset protection. The total for this category is $968,991,531. The first subcategory is career and technical education, which includes additions and expansions to address our growing CTE program. Items included in this subcategory are expansion or phase 2 of the Winfern program of choice to accommodate additional CTE programs such as electrical, plumbing, HVAC, cosmetology, and construction. New welding and HVAC classrooms at Cypress Lakes and Cy-Fair high schools. 6 recirculating welding booths at Cy Creek, Cy Falls, and Jersey Village high schools. Renovation and expansion of the culinary arts classroom at Cy-Fair high school. Additional greenhouses at Cy Creek, Cy Falls, and Cy Lakes high schools. Expansion of the arena at the exhibit center in order to increase seating capacity. Expansion of the West Green Ag Science Center to accommodate additional student projects from Cy Park and Bridgeland high schools. And relocation of the Maybelline Carpenter Center to Cy-Fair Annex. The relocation and renovation of this center will provide additional programming and CTE opportunities for students. The next subcategory is fine arts. Items included are expansion of the art and music rooms at several elementary campuses and additional art rooms for the high schools. Additions and renovations of the theater black boxes at several high school campuses. Additions to the high school and middle school orchestra rooms to provide rehearsal and storage space. And replacement of band director towers at 10 high schools. The next subcategory is athletics. Items included are renovation of softball and baseball fields at high schools, including synthetic turf at all campuses and new dugouts at 8 campuses. Expansion of 2 tennis courts at 10 high schools, and installation of outdoor storage facilities at all middle and high schools. Next, we have support facilities. The one item included in this subcategory is the repurpose of the old Winfern campus. If the board approves and the bond passes, the relocation of the Maybelline Carpenter Center will require moving staff currently located in the annex to the old Winfern campus and repurposing the classrooms into support department office space. The final category is asset protection. The committee was presented with many needs and was charged with evaluating those needs based upon a priority ranking from 1 through 4. The priority descriptions range from priority 1, must-do, legal, and safety reasons to priority 4, future bond consideration outside of the 2025 parameter. The asset protection needs included the following areas: mechanical, electrical, and plumbing replacements with 1 to 6 year life expectancies, building envelope items such as roof replacements, life safety items such as fire alarm replacements, code requirement upgrades, and generator replacements, paving replacements and additions such as sidewalks, critical replacements such as kitchen equipment, furniture, flooring, and ceilings, and sound and lighting system upgrades. The last item in this subcategory is the renovation of the Cy-Fair multi-campus site, including Lampkin Elementary, Arnold Middle School, and Cy-Fair High School, to address the significant drainage and traffic issues associated with this complex. The goals of this project would include items such as improving vehicular and pedestrian safety on site and along Telge, Cypress North Houston, and the Highway 290 feeder, improving and increasing the length of the parent drop-off lane at Lampkin Elementary, and improving on-site drainage and adding detention to avoid ponding and water infiltration at the multi-campus site. I would like to now turn the remainder of the presentation over to Stuart Snow, who will address the financial impact of the committee's recommendations for the Board of Trustees' consideration.
Thank you, Julie. Dr. Ogletree, members of the board, Dr. Henry. As you know, one of the important considerations of any bond program is what effect it will have on taxes. And as you also know, any bond election may require a tax increase. But before I talk about the tax impact of this proposal, I think it's important to take a look back to 2014 at the 2014 election and what we told the community about what that tax increase might look like, and just give you a little status report on the bonds that were outstanding at that point in time. So in May of 2014, just after the 2014 bond election, we also had, in addition to the $1.2 billion of bonds that were authorized in the 14 election, we also had unissued authorized bonds that were from the 2004 and 2007 elections. And you can see here that in 2004 we still had unissued, unspent authorization of $35.8 million. And then in 2007, $211,190,000. So when we communicated with our community about the tax impact of the 2014 bond election, it was not just the $1.2 billion that went into our model of tax impact. It was nearly $1.5 billion, the $1,456,000,000. So based on that, that was our model projection in terms of the amount that we used in our model projections. So to show you a little, give you a little status of those particular bond elections, at the time of our 2014 election in May, again, we had unspent, authorized, and unissued bonds of $35,840,500. And you can see there that in November of 2014, we actually sold, as it was part of an overall a larger bond sale, but we issued and used all of the remaining unused or unspent, unauthorized, or unissued amounts of the $35 million. So the 2004 election amounts and authorization has been zeroed out, so we don't owe anything on that, or we don't have any more money to spend on that. And as you look at the next few slides, and this one as well, you can see that we don't sell all of the authorization all at one time. So when we have a bond election such as this, $1.7 billion, we're not going to sell all of that at one time. We sell that over time as we need the money to be able to fund the projects in that bond program. The next slide shows the 2007 bond election. That was for $807 million. And you can see there again that over a period of time we sold different installments of that authorization. We call them tranches. That's a favorite word of Dr. Henry's, by the way. But you can see that in November of 2016, again, that was part of a larger bond sale that we completed that authorization, and so there are no money left in that authorization to be able to spend. And then the 2014 bond election of $1.209 billion. Again, we've been pretty consistent for a number of specific reasons why we sell the bonds in the fall of each year, but you can see that every November, beginning in 2014 through just recently, this last November, we sold $200 million worth of bonds out of this authorization. So we have left to sell $158,810,500, and we plan to sell that this fall, again, probably in November of 2019. So this slide shows what we told the community back during that bond election process leading up to the 2014 bond election, and what the tax impact would be by selling the $1.5 billion worth of bonds. And so in that first year, you can see the tax year beginning in 2013. That's actually, I'm using tax year because that's we use the tax year for adopting the tax rate, and that's fiscal year 2013-14. At that time, our INS, or interest and sinking fund tax rate, was 41 cents, and we projected that to go to remain constant at 41 cents in 2014. But in October of 2014, for the tax year 2014, you all, the board, adopted a tax rate of 40 cents. So if you look at the column on the right, that is the actual tax rate that we have for INS. The column in the middle is what we were projecting. The column in the middle is what we showed the community that what our projection was for that tax rate to be as we sold that $1.5 billion worth of bonds. So in 2014, we projected that tax rate to be 41 cents, but again, the board lowered that tax rate to 40 cents. Instead of increasing it, or instead of remaining constant at 41, we lowered it at 40 cents. And then in 2015, you can see that we projected the tax rate to go up to 41 3/4 cents. In 2016, to go up to 43 3/4 cents, and then capping out at a maximum tax rate increase of 4.5 cents. Moving to 45.5 cents in 2017 and 2018, and then ratcheting down in 2019 to 45.39. But what actually happened was that after the board adopted a tax rate of 40 cents in October of 2014, that tax rate never changed. It remained constant for the next 5 years in a row, as it is currently at 40 cents. So rather than increasing the tax rate over the period of time to support the 2014 bond election, where our tax rate is actually less, is 5.5 cents less than what we had projected it to be in 2014. Even after selling already $1.3 billion worth of bonds. So a number of assumptions go into the modeling for a tax rate over a period of years, and I'm going to go through some of those now with you. Property tax value increases, we're projecting those increases, as you can see there, ranging from 5% to 8%, and then moving back down to 7%, 6% thereafter. Actually, that thereafter is 2025. In our modeling projections, we're not showing any value increases at all after 2025. So very conservative modeling on that. That does not mean, though, I want you to be aware, that does not mean that our homeowners' values are going to be going up by those percentages over time. We're projecting those values based upon the district's total taxable values. Our total value at this point in time is $55 billion. And so we're projecting that value to increase up to about $76 billion during this period of time that we're talking on this bond program. So it's not, the homeowners are not bearing all of the cost of the value increases. It's based upon our total taxable value district-wide. And this value growth, the value growth is really a combination of both the increased appraisals of our current properties as well as new residential and commercial development growth throughout the district. In particular, the west and the northwest areas of our town, and the Bridgeland and Town Lake Master Plan communities, Mira Mesa, Cypress Creek Lakes, among others. In fact, the Bridgeland development alone is expecting 4,800 homes over the next 10 years. Town Lake is expecting 3,000 homes to be occupied within the next 8 years. And in Dunham Point, which is a new subdivision, they are currently developing the infrastructure of that development. Dunham Point is projecting that they're going to have 3,000 homes in that area over the next 10 years. And so I'm not sure whether the residential development is causing the commercial development, or whether it's the commercial development that's causing the residential development. But certainly, as you drive 290 and 99 and out west in our district, you can see that development is going on. So our property value increases take into account all of that projected growth and development. We're looking at projecting a tax collection rate of 99% of what we levy. And the bond interest rates on the bonds that we sell, we're looking at putting into our modeling 4.5% on a fixed rate bond. For the last several bond sales on a fixed rate basis, our bond interest rates have varied between 3.05% and 3.76%. And then on our variable rate bonds that we've sold, that rate has ranged from 2.54% to 2.64%. So again, we believe that it's a fairly conservative estimate there on the bond interest rates. The underlying bond ratings, AA1 from Moody's Investor Services and AA from Standard & Poor's. That's our the underlying rating is essentially the district's individual credit rating. It's very, very strong. There are virtually no other school districts that have a higher underlying bond rating in the state of Texas. We're anticipating that we will be benefiting from the Permanent School Fund enhanced ratings. So we will be applying to the state for guarantee under the Permanent School Fund. That allows us then to sell these bonds at the highest AAA rating rather than the AA ratings that we have on an underlying basis. That provides us with the lowest possible interest cost for the sale of those bonds. As we structure the maturity of the debt schedules, we also want to make sure that we structure those maturity schedules to match the estimated useful life of the assets that they relate to. So, for instance, on our facilities, any construction or renovation of those facilities, we will mature those bonds over a period of 25 years. Instructional technology, those are the classroom instructional technology, computers, printers, the boards that they use, 5 years. So that is the maturity of those bonds then will be maturing over a 5-year period of time. Which, by the way, as you know, if you have a car loan and you pay for it over 3 years, your cost is going to be greater than if you pay for it over 5 years. And so what we're doing here is increasing the cost of our debt for these particular items, also a very conservative way to structure that debt. In infrastructure technology, structuring that debt to mature over 10 years, and buses 15 years. So we will be, as I mentioned earlier, selling the remaining portion of the 2014 bond authorization of $158 million. That will go into that goes into the modeling for this tax rate projection. We will sell these bonds evenly over the next 6 years, about $300 million a year. Again, we will amortize those bonds according to the estimated useful life. We will structure the payments around our existing debt service payments, and then we will, as we always do, look for areas and bonds that we can defease and refund over the period of time that gives us interest cost savings. Any interest that we earn on the invested debt service fund revenues, not considered in the INS tax rate projections, and we're not anticipating using any of the debt service fund balance. So you saw this slide earlier in the presentation, and it, along with the basic assumptions, form the basis of the tax impact, so the total $1,762,000,000. So here's the projected tax impact of the proposed $1.7 billion plus the $158,800,000 that we will be selling this fall from the 2014 authorization. So this year we're anticipating, this next year, 2019, we're anticipating that our debt service tax rate would remain at 40 cents. Probably sell bonds in the fall of 2019 again, as I mentioned. So in the tax year 2020, that debt service tax rate would remain the same at 40 cents. And then after that, it would incrementally ratchet up a little bit every year until it maxes out at a total impact over that 6-year period of time of 3 cents. So in 2022, or 2021 rather, the tax rate is projected to increase from 40 cents to 40.6 cents, or 6 cents of a penny increase, and then increase additionally every year after that of about 6 cents of a penny, totaling a cumulative maximum tax increase of 3 cents for all of this bond program. So this chart really shows the maximum tax rate of 3 cents, of incrementally 1, 2, and 3 cents, the impact on a $200,000 appraised value home. Refers back to a previous slide that if the tax rate increased by 1 penny, then that $200,000 appraised value home, that annual tax rate, or that annual tax increase, would be $13.50. So in 2022, based on our projections there, then that tax rate will have increased by 1.2 cents. If that tax rate were increased by 2 cents, which it will increase by 1.8 cents in 2023, then the tax amount will increase to $27 per year on that $200,000 home. And then when it maxes out in 2025, that $200,000 home, with a tax increase of 3 cents, they will be paying $40.50 per year more than what they're paying this year. So this slide just shows the tax impact of the maximum 3-cent increase over time on various appraised home values by the year 2025. So you can see in the left-hand column the appraised value. I'm showing $200,000 home there as well. The $224,073 value of a home, that is the average appraised value of a home in Cypher ISD, with a taxable value of $154,258. These values are assuming that those home values take advantage of a 20% optional homestead exemption that we offer, as well as the state mandated $25,000 optional homestead exemption. And so that average home value, appraised value of $224,073 with a taxable value of $154,258. In 2025, when that tax rate increase maxes out at 3 cents, then that homeowner will be paying $46.28 more in taxes per year. And you can see that varying amounts of appraised values, the impact of those homeowners on those values. So this is very important. Any homeowner age 65 and over with an over 65 homestead exemption, their tax levy is frozen. And it will not increase as a result of this bond election. So I urge you to don't let anybody tell you otherwise. With that, I think we're open to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you for very comprehensive report and for all the time and thought that has gone into it. Now, board members, we have any questions of the presenters? Tom?
This won't be all of my questions, so folks in the audience, don't get your hopes up when I stop talking.
So should I stand up now?
Yeah, take a break.
Yes.
Tom,
so
after a few questions, take a break so we can
well, I also
move it
need
around.
to catch my breath.
All right.
So let's take a look at the financial part of it. As trustees, we do not vote in favor or against the bonds. Our only job is to vote in favor or against sending the bond proposal out to the voters to vote on. So as a result, the way I look at it, I have three jobs I have to do. One, is it affordable? Can it be paid off? Two, have the numbers been calculated with integrity? And then three, do we actually need what we're asking for? So let's take a look first at the affordability issue. When you talk about the property value increases, 5% minimum year over year up to 2024, why do we believe that these are reasonable property value inflation increases?
We try to gain as much information as we can from other various sources, independent sources, and primarily from the Harris County Appraisal District. So in talking with them, trying to receive as much information about their projections of property value increases, as well as studying the demographics reports that are provided by our third-party demographer. And also looking at, as I mentioned, when we're looking at the future development of the various areas, particularly in the west and northwest of our district, both in terms of residential and commercial development, we believe that these property value increases over time are reasonable.
So as you stated, it's not that each individual house
Correct.
is going up by this percentage, but it reflects an overall increase in value.
Correct.
Everybody on the board knows this answer, but we need to ask, are we a 41 or a 42, and has there been a change recently?
Yes, sir, good question. For some of the members in the audience may not know what that really means. Chapters 41 and 42 of the Texas Education Code defines whether we are a, quote, property wealthy district or a property poor district. A property wealthy district, in some cases, not all cases, and not in our case, distributes money, sends money back to the state in terms of recapture, which is then dispersed across the rest of the state school districts that are property poor. We are a Chapter 41 district, considered a wealthy district, and it's based upon our wealth per weighted student. But we are not subject to recapture, and so it has no impact, no effect on our budget or operations.
And did we used to be a Chapter 42 district?
We were a Chapter 42. This is the third year that we flipped over to a Chapter 41 district.
So merely by the act of moving between a 42 up to a 41, that does in fact demonstrate sustained property value increase.
That's correct.
There is a proposal by the governor, but also signed on by the lieutenant governor and speaker of the House, to cap taxes or increases at 2.5%. If that passes, will that destroy the validity of our projections?
No. Well, the cap is on general revenues of the district, and what it intends to do is limit the operations revenues of a district, and then it does that by compressing the tax rate down, but the INS, or the interest and sinking fund, is not impacted at all. And in fact, as the new calculation comes out with the new House Bill 2 and Senate Bill 2 that were just filed this past week, there are quite a few changes in the tax code that address the effective rate and the rollback rate, the rollback rate being the rate that is required for it's the maximum rate that you can have, a district can have, without having an election to increase that rate. So that rollback rate then does not take into account essentially the debt service tax rate. So that is outside of that. So the debt service rate that we're talking about here is not impacted by any of that as well.
So our ability to repay the bonds is not going to be constrained by legislation.
That's correct. In fact, current law, I mean, when we sell bonds, these bonds are sold as unlimited tax bonds. And so as long as we demonstrate to the Attorney General, and we have to do this with every bond sale that we have to show the Attorney General through a number of different calculations that we can service that debt at the highest level of debt service in any particular year with a rate less than 50 cents. And so once we do that, then we can sell these bonds at whatever rate is required to be able to service the debt.
We all know that the Fed has been doing a bit of saber rattling, and they did announce very minor increases in the Fed funds rate, and then they decided to hold off when the stock market collapsed on them. We happen to continue to enjoy a healthy economy. So how realistic is your 4.5% fixed rate, given where the 10-year Treasury is, and is the 10-year Treasury a good barometer to compare for tax-free bonds?
Well, the 10-year Treasury is not necessarily the index that we use in terms of selling those bonds. It's the MMD rate. The Treasury obviously has held off on any indication of increasing those rates over time. But as I mentioned, the 4.5 fixed rate is significantly lower than the rates that we have actually enjoyed during our last several bond issues, ranging from a little over 3% to about 3.75%. So I think that over time that 4.5, in fact, we may be refunding some of the bonds if we do issue a rate higher than the 4.5 cents. Then we will be refunding those bonds over time as well. So I think that I feel comfortable with that rate.
I want to go back over a point that you did bring up. It is on the handouts we have. It's also on the slide up there. But since in the last 2 bond elections, a local radio station reported inaccurate information, and certainly the community was exercised over the temporary misreporting. So part of the technology rollover has to do with replenishables that wear out in about 5 years. So are we going to sell bonds at a 10 or 15 or 30-year rate to acquire technology like laptops that have a useful life of 5 years?
No, sir. Again, when we structure these bond sales and we set the scale of those bond sales, those amounts that are dedicated for technology and for buses that have a shorter estimated useful life than what, say, our facilities, then we structured the scale of those bonds to be able to mature those bonds over that estimated useful life. And so the assets that we buy for technology that are used in the classroom, certainly it would be imprudent of us to finance those over a 25 year period of time. And so we will pay those bonds off that are particular to those assets within the guidelines that I mentioned earlier in the slide. Infrastructure technology is a little longer life because that's cabling and switches and other things that we wear out basically over 10 years. We stretch that over 10 years, and so that's a more accurate estimated useful life of that type of technology. The bus is 15 years for that. So we try to make sure that those bonds are paid off when those assets are to be replaced. And in terms of the infrastructure, as you all know, we had a significant amount of money in the 2014 bond for infrastructure, and we have completely gutted what we had before in terms of our district infrastructure and have replaced everything that we have. And in fact, the plan here then for this bond program is that at the tail end of the 5 or 6 year period of time is when that technology infrastructure will be replaced. This is not going to be replaced in the beginning, in the early years. It'll be in the later years because we want to make sure that the technology that we implemented in the 2014 bond program has reached its useful life.
Just a couple of more questions on financial, then I'll pass the microphone. When you first came to this district as CFO, you unveiled a calculation that identified debt on a per pupil basis, which is really a very fine way of identifying the amount of debt that we're carrying and the reasonableness of it. We are a fast growth district, and part of the soft underbelly is Austin does not truly fund growth for us like they fund highways and roads and other infrastructure needs. I don't see that calculation in your presentation. Have you done it recently? And do we still meet what I would call the reasonableness test?
We haven't done the calculation recently, but as a matter of fact, coincidentally, I've been talking with the Municipal Advisory Council over the last week about because they prepared that information that I shared with you a few years ago, and so we are working on that. And what it was is all of the it's a schedule of all of the Texas school districts that had outstanding debt of $100 million or more, and their growth rate over a 10-year period of time. And so I made those calculations of the debt per student. And so we're working on that. We haven't completed it yet, but at that point, if I recall, our debt per student was about $15,000 per student, something like that. So, and we ranked very low among the state's districts in that regard.
I would be interested, if at all possible, to see that calculation before I have to make a decision. The last question I have for you.
Well, I won't have it over the next few days, though.
Well, I don't think we have to decide for a week or so. Are you saying that?
It may take a while.
Okay.
Because there are about 500 districts, and I have to receive all of the information from those districts.
Well, it may not be possible. The last question, this is a big number. How does it compare with what Dallas did or say Katy did. Katy obviously is smaller. Dallas is just marginally bigger than we are, but both of them had some bond referendum.
Yeah, I believe Katie's was 900 and some odd $1 million. Fort Bend was 995. I don't recall what Dallas's was. Houston ISD several years ago was 1.8 billion.
Very good, thank you. And Stuart, I'm sorry, I launched into my question barrage without saying thank you for doing, once again, a very thorough job for us. I certainly appreciate it, and I certainly know this takes a tremendous amount of work to pull this presentation together for us, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Bob.
Well, I kick off, first of all, the committee that came together and did this. Thank you, because I know I've served on 2 of these before, and it is, number one, eye-opening that you learn about the district, and you've learned quite a bit in a very short period of time. But I thank you very much for what you're doing. And then I also want to say thank you to all of our administrators and the people that put these things together, that what you want and what you need. It's just amazing what you've done to put this together. Thank you very much. I think probably my first question would go to Roy Sprague. And Roy, when we're talking about portables, because I know at one time we were talking about over 10% of our students were in portables, and with safety and security an issue, and I noticed that you're having fences put around portables. How many of our kids are in portables right now?
I think Teresa might have that number better, but we've got 248 portable buildings in the district. Some of those are classified as surplus that we're just using for temporary storage until a future need is needed throughout the district.
Right.
Each of those portables typically will house 44 students each. So roughly, 10,000? If I'm doing math correctly in my head right now, roughly 10 to 12,000 students.
So we're still in that range, basically. And does any of this, the facilities, renovations and additions, that's a good word, the additions, does that take away any of the need for some of these portables, or?
No, it does not. The portables are there, and one thing I do want to point out is we haven't built a new portable building in several years. We've been able to reuse the portables and shift them around the district. You know, that period of time when we grew several years ago, about 7,500 students per year, we had to come in and build quite a few portables that year to supplement the growth needs until we could get the new facilities constructed. But no, the renovation component is really taking care of our existing assets. It's no different in taking care of your roof on your own house. You have to replace it, every 12 to 15 years, depending on the roofing system you have in place. Your air conditioning, your painting, all these things are to maintain the existing infrastructure and the investment that we have made, the taxpayers have made into our facilities to serve our students.
Okay. Well, I like seeing that you're going to be fencing, so we definitely need that.
Absolutely.
Teresa, the next question may be directed at you. I'm not sure. But I'm looking at the facilities renovations and additions under the career and technical education, and I noticed that there were some things that we're doing in some schools and some we're not doing in some schools. What brought us to where I know we try to be equitable throughout all of our schools? Is that not? I mean, I guess that would be my question. Hi, Denise. How are you? That's for you, is it? Okay.
Getting the signal.
Okay.
The reason that some of these and the renovations are at certain campuses than others is to actually either bring up the equity. We have some campuses that are older than others, and so we might be renovating one of our older facilities to bring it up to the current standards. And then some of it is just how we're portioning it out. So like in the welding, we have certain centers that are certain schools that are handling our advanced, and then we're doing just some minor things in like Cy Creek, Cy Falls, and Jersey Village, because those are our secondary ones where they just need to house the welding one. So it's all an idea of bringing them up to the same standard.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I love the idea of moving Maybelline Carter and renovating that and making it bigger and better. And when you make a tour through there, that's a very a small restricted area anyway. And I was really impressed with one of the young men and they have their struggles, but he was actually needing a room because he's making pens and not pencils, but pens. And it's something that actually he could do, and he was doing well. So I'm glad to know that we're doing something to help out there. And that's something that everyone in this community needs to support, and that is this career and technical education. Because not everybody's going to go to college, or they may want to go to college, but they may need to work in the interim anyway. And I kind of piggyback on to what Tom said, Stuart, and you don't have to get up, but I have been concerned about what the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the speaker came up with the control of the appraisal to, I think it was 2.5%. And it doesn't, I mean, to me, and trust me, I'm not what you call a financial guy. I'm pretty good with pluses and minuses, but I don't get into what Tom gets into. That's why I rely on Tom. But it just seems like when you're going to control the appraisal to 2.5%, that's going to hurt us.
Well, it's not a control of the appraisal. The intent is it's a tax reform bill to reduce the tax rates of the taxing jurisdictions.
Okay.
And so under the proposed legislation, then we would be limited to revenues from tax sources of 2.5%, which would then cause us to lower our M&O tax rate. Now, if that happens, obviously the state has to kick in the amount that's necessary to be able to hold us harmless on that. So how the state has indicated that they plan to fund that, any reduction in revenue by school districts, or they haven't said, so we don't know. But we anticipate that if that happens, if that bill is passed into law, that there would have to be some mechanism where we would receive additional state revenue to offset any loss of tax revenue.
Okay.
And again, the debt side of the tax rate is not impacted by any legislation of House Bill 2 and Senate Bill 2.
Okay, thanks, Stuart. I had misunderstood that. So, and I'm just going to share with you that when I served on the 2001 and the 2004 bond, I'm going to tell you that there's going to be information out there that is misinformation. And it's up to all of us to make sure that they understand exactly what's happening, and not to go with the innuendos, and not to go with the, I hate to say call them liars, but misinformation.
All
So,
right.
thank y'all very much.
Let's go to Christine, then we'll go to Dorsey.
Okay, thank you. I totally agree with the need for the Performing Arts Center. I was wondering if thought was given to times of the year when maybe we're not using it as much, will we be able to use that as a source of income? Okay, I'm getting nods, yes.
Definitely, that facility would be made available for outside facilities use, just like all of our campuses.
Okay.
As you know, majority of our elementaries are utilized by churches. We also allow access to outside swim teams and swim groups to our natatoriums, to our stadiums, Cypress Sports Association. All of those facilities we do make available for outside use. So, yes, the Performing Arts Center would be added to that list.
Okay. And then my second question is about the new ISC facility. Will that, could I just get a little more info on, will that allow for training, more trainings? I mean, we're such a big district now with such a big staff. Is there space there? I'm just kind of wondering what it encompasses in the ISC, or the thoughts around it.
I wouldn't say that necessarily it's additional space for training. It definitely would allow for additional meeting space.
Okay.
The boardroom, there would be a boardroom at that facility that would allow for training or meetings like this current room is used. We have not looked at the master plan as far as what all would be included there. The real goal is to provide additional office space and meeting space. Okay. The repurposing of this facility, if the bond does pass, would allow additional training space here as well as storage space. We would probably keep our technology services team at this location because of all the equipment and things that we've done at this time. So I think it will allow us a lot of flexibility in the different spaces that we currently have, plus the new ISC for additional training space, along with obviously the Berry Center.
All right, thank you, and thank you to all the thought and time that was put into this. Thank you.
Dorsey.
Thank you. I would also echo the comments that have been made about the Long Range Planning Committee, and I really appreciate all the work that you did. And in addition, all the support that was given by the administrators. I know it's a big process, and I appreciate very much that. Well, some of my questions have already been answered, but one thing that I'm used to seeing is a little bit more detail about growth, because we have not recommendations for 2 new schools, 1 middle school and 1 elementary school. And I guess I have a question about whether that's enough, and what kind of population growth are you seeing that indicates that's the proper number? So I'd love to hear about that.
Well, if you recall, we still have campuses that are remaining to be constructed with the 2014 bond program. We are currently working on the construction for Middle School 19 at the Cy Park complex. In addition, we have elementary 57 and 58 that have not been constructed. Elementary 57, we anticipate will be the 3rd Bridgeland site, or is that the Dunham Point site?
Both are in that year.
Okay, but number 57 and 58, I don't know the exact number for each one. One would be the 3rd elementary site in Bridgeland, and the second one would be either at Dunham Point or Mira Mesa. It's really just having to look at the population growth and the timing of the development at Dunham Point. We will have our PASA demographic update here at the end of the month and presenting it to the board in March. So that'll give us a better indication, I think, of where that second elementary should be located. So then as you move forward with elementary 59, that would provide the enrollment relief in the far southwest corner of our district, which is a real challenging area. We have overcrowding at Sheridan, M. Robinson, and Wilson, and so that would provide enrollment relief in that area. And then obviously Middle School 20 would provide the enrollment relief at Smith Middle School. You know, as far as the other areas of the district where you definitely see some increases in the student enrollment, some of the areas that we're currently looking at, even with the boundary recommendations that we brought forward to you last month, we do feel that as we watch kind of the trends with our enrollment growth, it's been a little interesting this year. It's been different than many other years. We would like to wait and see how that pattern, or if it is a pattern, or is it just a one-time anomaly as far as our enrollment really stabilizing. We want to look at that moving forward, but adjustments could be made in attendance boundaries to better utilize and provide some enrollment relief to campuses, knowing that that's not always the most popular decision, but it certainly can help with efficiency and use of our other facilities.
Thank you, Teresa. That gives me a lot more comfort knowing what's coming through all of the different monies that are available. And I think it probably gives our community a lot more comfort too, because 1 elementary and 1 middle school doesn't quite sound enough. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the appraisals. And I know this, and I'm sure most of the people do know this, but Stuart, who determines the appraised value of our homes and businesses?
Harris County Appraisal District appraises all the property in the district. You do, the Board of Trustees of Cy-Fair ISD do not appraise any properties. All you do is adopt a tax rate that's applied to that tax rate, or that tax value.
I think that's critical for everyone to know, that the board sitting here does not value your property. We do work with the circumstances that we have.
We
value
property.
you greatly.
They don't.
We don't determine the value
don't
of your
their
property.
property.
I just think that's an important thing for everyone to keep in mind. And Stuart, when we talk about seniors that their taxes are frozen and they do not have an increase. Now, if a senior had a house and built an addition on and added a swimming pool, they might have a tax increase, but their rate is frozen. Is that correct?
Actually, their levy is frozen if, and that's a good point. If they build an addition to their house, that would cause their value, their appraised value, to go up significantly, then it would be readjusted. It would still be frozen at the new level, but their levy is what is frozen. It's the amount of their taxes is what's frozen. So any over 65 resident, and I'm one of them.
So
and I have an over 65 homestead exemption. So my taxes are frozen, and my taxes will not go up because of this bond election.
I'm right there with you. The other question I had is that this is a very small increase to our homeowners. We're talking a maximum of 3 cents over the next 5 or 6 years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If we wanted to have absolutely no tax increase, what kind of bond amount would we be looking at?
You know, when we were working with the bond steering committee, we didn't know at where we would land in terms of the total amount of scope of the bond program, and so we did a number of different scenarios, and I think I can grab that out of my file here, because we wanted to be able to show them the impact of the tax on various amounts and scopes. So I think, let me just get that to you. What we determined based on the modeled assumptions that I talked about earlier tonight was that that bond scope without a tax increase would be $1,350,000,000.
So I guess, Julie, this question would be to you. If I'm looking at having to reduce this by, what is it, about $400 million?
Correct. Yes.
Correct? I just would like to hear from you, Julie, and your committee. I'm sure that you guys were aware of this. And so when you were looking at that, is there a possibility of cutting something out? How did you feel about everything that's included in this process? I just want to repeat on that.
No, I understand. So the committee had started off with an extensive list of needs that the district presented to us based upon their year-long facility assessment process. And that total was about between $2.7 and $2.8 billion. So when we started with that list, then we started to look at prioritizing based upon our, not just the needs of the district, but our values as community members. And we went through several different exercises of rating those needs from 1 to 5, seeking consensus there, and then really calling that list over and over and over again until we could get that list down to where we felt was the most critical items needed in order to maintain our facilities, accommodate student enrollment growth, address the increased needs for our CTE courses and such. So we really came up with that number, and we felt that all those items were critical to serving our community between now and 2025.
Thank you for just clarifying that and making that statement. I appreciate it very much. You're welcome. That's all my questions for right now.
Could Julie, could you?
Yes, sir.
I think it would help too with what you just asked, Dorsey. What can you recall some things that you eliminated? Because some people look at this and say, "Oh gosh, this is." What did you all decide to eliminate?
Certainly. A couple of things first that come to mind. We looked at when we look at facility renovations, things like maintenance for our facilities. When they were ranked in priority from 1 to 4, we pulled out the 3s and 4s. Those are still being kept track of, but those may need to be accommodated with a future bond program. But we felt that we could push those off past 2025. We also looked at there was a request for district-wide storage, additional storage for the district, which I know we've heard that was quite a a challenge for the district because of the growth, and we removed that to a separate category to be considered for a future bond. We worked with the district to find an alternative funding source for the land acquisition for the new elementary school, Elementary 59. So that was dollars that could be found, I think, from the 2014 bond, if that's correct, Stuart. It's an alternative funding source for that. A couple of safety features, bollards in front of the schools. Those are the things that go in front of buildings to prevent vehicles from going past the parking spaces and onto into the school buildings. We reduced the recommended amount of impact-resistant glass and on some of the facilities and some of the windows, some lighting and intercoms. So we really did go through line item by line item by line item. And we worked very hard to reach consensus on those items that we felt were most critical to facility protection, safety, and accommodating student growth.
Okay.
You know, it felt kind of strange. I was thinking back, I participated on the long-range planning committee for the last 4 bonds, so it seems strange now to be sitting on this side, but I want to commend Julie for your leadership in this effort. I know it is not easy, and you clearly, in your committee, I thank all of you. I know how time-intensive it is for you to commit to this process, but I hope everyone sees how important it is to our district, and I do appreciate all of your hard work and your time commitment to the district in this process. My first question is going to be for Stuart. Now, Stuart, back in the 2014 bond, and you mentioned it, you know, that we projected out what we thought the potential increase would be to the taxpayers. But at the same time, we talked in the background that we felt like we may not have to do that. And as it turned out, the board has been able to actually decrease taxes 1 cent. Do you foresee, because you do such a great job of projecting, but you always project worst case scenario, and you're very modest in your projections. Do you foresee, and this is no promise and no commitment, because we don't have a crystal ball, but do you think there is a potential that might be the case with this bond?
Well, you know how I operate.
I
know.
know.
You know that I'm very conservative. You know
Right.
that when we were working on the 2014 bond, that the modeled assumptions that went into those calculations, we felt were very conservative.
Right.
And that we believe that even though we were showing a 4.5 cent increase of the tax rate at that time and communicated that we would never get there.
Yeah.
We truly believe that, and as it turns out, we were right about that. In fact, it's better than we actually thought it would turn out to be.
Exactly.
So turn the page now to 2019 and this bond program. Again, I haven't changed. My projections are still conservative. My assumptions, I believe, are still conservative. So without any promises to you,
I don't ask for any.
it is possible
Okay.
that we could sell all of this without a tax increase.
And I guess that was the word I was looking for, was possible. Okay. And I do want to point out, too, that even the highest projection for this tax rate is still less than what we projected in 2014.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great job. Next question is for Roy. Roy, we talked about fencing, and I thought I heard in the presentation fencing mentioned only for elementary schools. Is there any fencing for the middle schools around the portable buildings, or what? Because we have many many middle schools that kind of sit out in the open as well. What is the plan
The
there?
intent is to go ahead and do fencing around all our portables where applicable. In some
Okay.
cases, they may already be located on the site where they're basically secluded, and we may not need to add fencing there. But generally speaking, we would be looking at evaluating every single site, working with the campus administration, and determining the best locations for that fencing. But the intent is to put them around portables where needed.
Anywhere there's a vulnerable spot. Okay,
That's correct.
good. Okay, and I guess my next two questions would be for Denise. Sorry, I'm going to make you get up.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was looking that we're got an addition to the West Green Ag Science Center, and we just built that about 2 years ago, didn't we?
Yes, ma'am. We built it and we designed it with the idea of expansion. When they
Okay.
built it, when they planned it with two buildings similar to what we have at our Telge location. But based on the need, we only needed one building at the time. But with all of the growth in the neighborhoods that they're projecting that way, in our schools that are down that way, such as
Good.
Cypress Park, Bridgeland, and all the areas down there, we're ready for the second building.
Okay. Now, I hear all the time that the Telge barn is busting at the seams too. Has there been any thought to potentially, or do we even have the space to add on to that facility?
We actually had some relief at Telge with West Green opening,
Right.
and so we've been monitoring where our students go, because we do give parents and students choice. We try to accommodate their first choice of which center they're going to based on the variety of traffic patterns.
Right.
And so at this point, it looks like West Green is becoming quite popular, and we're projecting that popularity to increase as more roads are cut through to it. And so we really feel that the capacity at Telge we can handle through 2025, because we have been much higher than we are right now, where we built all those temporary pens out on the perimeter. So we've since been able to, with the opening of West Green, we've taken those perimeter pens down, so there's more shelter for the animals that are there. But worst case, we can go back that way, but we really think through 2025 we'll be okay.
Okay. My second question would be, I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe currently in our barns, students may only keep their Cyfair Ag projects and a scramble heifer if they participated through their FFA chapter in the scramble. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. All we have right now, we are limiting them to one animal, and it's for the Cyfair ISD.
Oh, only one animal?
Right. That was one of the things that we had to put in place back when we were at capacity. And so then with the addition of West Green and we had several uncertainties related to the campuses that had Booster Club sponsored barns. We have had in the last few years, we've had a couple of Booster Club barns that were down in the Addicks Reservoir that have had to close because of the restructuring of the reservoir. And so we wanted to make sure that all students had the potential to participate,
Right.
the capacity to participate. So at this point, we've been holding for one project per student, so that all of it, we don't have to turn anyone away. And once things stabilize with our barns and we get an addition, assuming that it goes through and is approved, and we get an additional building at West Green, then we can go back and reconsider whether or not we have the space to allow a second one. But our priority right now is for not to turn any student away.
And I appreciate that. I just hope, as we look to the future, that maybe we can accommodate more projects, because many students want to have the experience of more than just a hog or a steer or a lamb, and it precludes them too from keeping animals for major livestock shows that they may be raising, and they have to look for other places to keep them. It's all, to me, having had two sons go through the FFA experience when we were much smaller back then, And I remember too hurting for space back then. But there's just so much that they gain from that experience, not only the school show, but the major livestock shows too, if they're so inclined to do that. So I hope maybe in the future that's something. I'm glad to hear that we're hoping in the future they won't be restricted to just one project. And then a question about culinary arts classroom. Do you know how many students we currently have enrolled in culinary arts?
In the advanced culinary arts, we have 2 locations. Currently, we're in the process of building our 3rd, and each of those locations serves 60 to 70 students. And then in the courses leading up to that, we have that at each of our high schools, and again, they range between 40 and 60 students at each of the high schools, so we have quite a few.
Right. I was about to say, our culinary arts program is just amazing, and I wish everyone had an opportunity at one time or another to see exactly the opportunity that we are giving these students, and the facilities are great, so I'm glad that we're able to expand some of the older ones. Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
I just want to say that I really appreciate the work of this long-range planning committee, looking into the future to the needs of our district. And I am just really excited over this plan for the Performing Arts Center. It is very much needed. We have some very talented children in our district, and I'm glad that the plan is to use it for the entirety of our student body. This really makes a statement to our community as to trying to reach and tap into every talent and gift of our children. And the time has come for us, as we brag about our low cost and administrative cost, to move and present our administrators with a modern facility, an up-to-date facility there. That's a good use of the property there on Matsky, there near Cyfair. So I'm very excited about that. I think our community will be also and receive this report well, to see this advancement and looking at the good use of the property that we have, and how it's going to better serve our campuses. What I think, and I think Roy or Stewart, it would help me, and I think it would help our community, and I really don't have any reservations that our community will support this. But I think what would help, if you've given us some good numbers tonight and all the percentages and all that, but the one thing people can see and identify with without the numbers is what actually was done. With the 2014 bond, when we voted on that $1.2 billion project, I think it would really help if you all could give to us in this community, what have we gotten from that? What was delivered to this community from the 1.2? And I think if we do that, it will help us and help them to see that this district delivers. When you put something before the community, the numbers may look large, but if we could do that and list that, this is what we've gotten so far from that, I think it will take us a long way and help us and the community to process this and be willing to support this bond. And I say it before we vote on it. I just don't want to be a prophet tonight, but you all have worked hard, and I think we take pride in this district and what we do. Stuart, I'm like Tom and Bob because, one target has been the public schools when they talk about taxes and property taxes. And I hear what you say, but would you, and maybe in some report, give us the projections just on what you look at in the future from Bridgeland, Town Lake, and Dunham Point, so we can just see that as a separate
That
entity.
information that I spoke of earlier, just give that.
Yes.
Write up a report for you.
Yes,
Certainly.
I appreciate that. All right, Bob, and then Tom.
Just one final question. Julie?
Yes.
Just curious, and like I said, in serving on the 2 bond committees that I served on, what was the vote on the bond committee?
So we, the way our bond committee worked, we had a very collaborative effort, and we worked towards consensus. So as we worked through the line items, we rated items on a scale from 1 to 5. 5 being we are all in, we're all on board, and 1 being nope, let's take it off the list. And we did have items that fell on both ends of the spectrum, but as an overall package, we worked more towards consensus. Can we all get behind this and support this as a group of community leaders representing so much of our district? And it was, we were all in.
So as
We
unanimous,
had consensus.
You're saying it's unanimous, basically, is what you're telling me?
Yes.
They're shaking their heads.
I'm looking at you guys. Yeah. Everybody hold up your green paddle. We used a red, yellow, green. After 1 to 5, then we went to red, yellow, green. Then we had green and red. And then we were set.
Well,
But the committee worked very hard. I will tell you, Board of Trustees, we worked hard to really use good discretion to focus on the fiscally responsible solution to the needs of the district, and I'm very proud of our work.
No, I was just watching Tanya. God knows how refined and quiet she is, and I wanted to see how she voted, so I was asking. I was all in. Okay, there you go.
In that regard, Julie, when I asked you what was eliminated, there were or was an item or two eliminated in that safety area.
Correct. Out of the $900 million, there were a couple of.
Are you all satisfied that what you're presenting in the area of safety is good enough? Or there's no thought,
Yes.
gosh, I wish we should have added that.
Yes. Thank you for your question, Dr. Ogletree. We really wanted to build on the strong foundation that has already been laid from the 2014 bond of that $55 million that was already invested in our facilities. We really looked to see what could we add additionally, and used the input from the outside security consulting organization that came in and they presented their findings to us as well. So we really looked to see what they recommended and prioritized, and what we felt as parents and grandparents of students, and we picked the ones that were at the absolute top priority, and the ones we did eliminate, we felt did not have, for the cost associated with it, were very minimal in terms of actual effectiveness. Yep.
Could I just add one thing to that? I think that I've been here 8 years now, and one of the biggest concerns that I've heard over that eight years from elementary parents is the open concept at our elementary schools. And the biggest cost item in our security is partitioning or segmentation of our elementary schools to provide pods of safety. So I think that's going to make our elementary parents, we're still going to have the advantages of open concept, but we're going to add more layers of security within the building. And that's what I've heard the most since I've been here.
Agreed.
So round 2.
Okay.
So to the committee, Julie, committee members, thank you for your time and thoughts and efforts and your talents in bringing these numbers to us. It takes a lot of time and effort and work, I know that when I nominated people, I specifically picked those who would be cost hawks, as well as hawks to make certain that these were items that we needed to have presented to the voting public. So I appreciate the work that you've done. A couple of the larger ticket items on the Instructional Support Center, I'll go ahead and be bold and I'll say we do need a new one, but I know this area used to be a strip center, something like not a Home Depot, but something like it that used to be here, and I used to come over here and buy product.
It's called Heidi's, and it was like a Hobby Lobby. And I worked there in high school.
But I also know that when this was rebuilt, it was called a Taj Mahal. And I don't know that anybody here would refer to it as a Taj Mahal, and certainly nobody who's ever been to India would disgrace the Taj Mahal with making the comparison. But I will make the observation that label will come out because we want to build a new ISC. And so committee members, I thank you also for your courage, because you will probably field negative comments, and that will probably be one of the ones first and foremost. So I thank you for your service in that area. Let me focus on the next, one of the other big ticket items, the Performing Arts Center. I was a band dad for 15 consecutive years, and I stood at the back of one of our high school auditoriums with Roy when it was standing room only, and I have no doubt we violated fire codes by having too many people in that high school auditorium. But we're also talking about a $47 million price tag. So let's talk a little bit about capacity utilization. It's billed as a performing arts center, but it dawns on me we also have a very thriving fine arts department throughout each of our 3 layers of schools. Was there any thought that this could be used by fine arts as well, or is it merely only for performing arts?
Can I?
Go ahead, yeah.
Mr. Jackson, certainly we will be using it for our performing art, but we also hope to use it for different areas of our fine arts. For example, being able to use this such as an art gallery around to display all the wonderful art that we have that we're trying to figure out where to go right now, because there really isn't any place. You know, we've had art here and we're busting at the seams. We've had art at the Berry Center, but this will allow us to actually display our art. Our kids are very talented. I'm sure y'all will agree with that.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Photography,
that's part of it. All of that to be displayed on an ongoing basis like a gallery.
So it won't just be restricted to the performing arts?
No, sir.
A little harder question on this one. I know that our programs have shifted, and many years ago, orchestra was almost like a forgotten area for this district. And I'm pleased to say that we've had tremendous growth in orchestra. Do we have other performing arts that have expanded and grown where we may need additional practice capacity or performance capacity?
Mary Rennie's going to join us.
One of the other things that we asked for was an expansion of the art rooms. So we asked for 2 additional art rooms at all of the high school campuses because those programs have grown quite a bit. Our theater programs have grown quite a bit, and we've asked for renovation of the black boxes or addition of the black boxes at the campuses that do not have them. And so those will accommodate some of the growth in those programs.
And so let me ask you a question about that. I enjoy going to black box theater. I was in drama in high school and college, not particularly good at it, but I enjoyed watching others who were talented. But do we need to have black box theater? What does black box do for us that just a regular theater doesn't?
So it provides a more intimate space for the students. The Black Box Theater is not only a theater, but it also serves as 2 classrooms. So right now we have 2 theater classrooms in all of our older campuses, and what we'd like to do is shift to a black box. It has a dividing wall down the middle, so we can still have our 2 theater classrooms during the day, but then it opens up to a performing space so that we have another place to perform, which also, when we have a smaller show, it helps relieve the main stage so that we're not performing every theater performance on the main stage, and you know, those stages are booked solid, and so that just allows us another performance space.
Another question on performing arts, the part of our charge as trustees, and Mark certainly points it out. 1, we have to produce graduates, and 2, we have to encourage student attainment. One of the reasons to have what I call a full service public school program is it gives kids a reason to go to school. But is there any correlation between the performing arts and student attainment, or is it merely something that draws them in and keeps them in?
Mr. Jackson, I'll answer that for you. You know, there's a lot of research out there, studies out there that talk about students who are involved in performing arts academically do much better. Graduation rates are higher. As we've looked at our data, it's right in line with that. We find that our students who are in the fine arts perform better than our general population on the STAR test, the EOCs, higher levels of the meets and masters, and also higher levels when you look at graduation rates.
So more than just needing additional space, would you suggest that there's a carryover to other academic courses?
Absolutely.
So the benefit is not just for the performing arts and having an additional facility. I will make the observation. I specifically wore my JA Inspire shirt to the meeting tonight. My colleague Debbie was there with me, and I know all the other trustees except for Christine, who has a real job, will be there the next 2 mornings. What's special about the Berry Center, and certainly we have some trustees who were on that bond proposal. I certainly was an individual who came and spoke in favor of it. Without the Berry Center, we never could have implemented JA Inspire, but by the same token, we never dreamed of having a JA Inspire as being a reason for the Berry Center. Merely having the facility there permitted us to do things and to dream that otherwise would not have been possible. And I think having a performing arts center will also add that degree of serendipity. There are things that we cannot do now, but once we have the facility, we can dream about doing. And just like JA Inspire, I have no doubt, enhances our graduation rates and student attainment when our students leave K through 12. I suspect performing arts will as well. So thank you. I do have a question for Roy. When I look at the cost here for the middle school of $97 million, and I visited with a prior trustee who served about 15 years ago, an engineer for Ryder Scott downtown. He was aghast at the increase because it certainly wasn't the cost when he approved many years ago. So how has inflation impacted the cost of school construction? Are we still facing it now? And is there anything special about being in the Houston area that may cause competition for scarce construction resources?
Well, unfortunately, construction costs have increased tremendously. And just to give you an idea, we're budgeting just on a base square foot number for this new middle school, roughly about $240, $245 a square foot. And then you have to add all your soft costs and so forth. One of the things we've included also is the inflationary dollars based on the proposed opening date for that school based on the demographic study. So we have inflation built in there. We are currently seeing a stabilization generally this past year but we're still anticipating, based on input from the AGC and other stakeholders out there that we try to stay in tune with in terms of costs and what the projections are, we're still anticipating a 5 to 7% increase over the next several years. In addition, there's lots of bond programs that have passed. There's more that are going to be probably considered, like this one before you. It is going to strain our currently strained market that we have in terms of resources to be able to construct buildings. So not only our district, but all the other districts that are in the middle of a construction program, we're all vying for the same limited resources out there in the construction market for K through 12 construction. So that's also a challenge. We've been very successful in the way we try to approach our projects and our scheduling to try to get ahead of the curve of other districts so we can get the better subcontractors and general contractors working on our projects, and that model's proved very effectively for us to be able to maintain the level of projected costs that we have currently in our $1.2 billion program. And I would like to indicate that we are at a surplus, not a lot, but we are at a surplus right now with the 2014 bond program, and we do anticipating completing all the projects as promised, and hopefully a few extra projects when it's all said and done with the 2014 dollars.
So that would say a couple of things to me, interpreting your comments. One, we can in fact rely upon your projections. You've given us projections in the face of significant inflation in the past, and we've been able to manage those inflations. One item that you did not mention, Bob, of course, is in the steel business. I see AFEs with tubulars, and the cost of tubulars has skyrocketed just over the past 10 years. We know that there are tariffs. Do we have cost? Does your projected inflation include the potential impact of tariffs and potential increased tariffs?
We hope so, based on our conversations with our general contractors and architectural community, that factoring in a 7% inflation rate is hopefully picking up any potential tariffs or future tariffs that may impact any type of material that we use on our projects. Our model has been very successful over the last 5 bond programs. We have included some inflation in the programs, but we don't include inflation for all 5 years. Our history has shown that if we include 2 years of inflation on the front side, the savings that we catch on those first couple of years projects usually carries us on the backside to where we can complete everything we promised the voters and then hopefully some extra.
In the past, one area of cost control has been the ability of this district to respond quickly with placing contracts out for bid. Is that still, assuming that this board moves in concert on approving those contracts, do you anticipate that that's another potential way of managing cost, or would that still be available to us?
Absolutely. We're already starting to think about, assuming you guys call the election and the voters approve it, what projects would we start right away in the summer of 2019? And some of the things we will look at is some of the security fencing, some things that we can do very quickly and get done in the summertime so we can show a positive impact to the community.
My next question has to do with security, and I do want to commend the committee, but also admin. At church, I had no fewer than 3 teachers come up to me to want to know what were we doing about portables, because that's where they worked. And clearly that, to use a poor descriptor, that is a soft spot. So thank you for looking at it. Did we have an outside security appraisal team come in and review our potential areas for enhancement for security?
Yes. True North Consulting Group was hired by the district to come in and evaluate our facilities and processes and so forth. And most of the recommendations that were included in this bond program, or proposed bond program, is based on the recommendations of our security consultant.
Bringing up the issue of Austin again, we know that Austin has been talking about wanting to do something on security, and this question could be fielded either by you, Roy, or Stuart, or Mark. Why should we go ahead with our security installation now, as opposed to waiting to see what Austin will deliver, because they have promised much about security?
I tried to pass that off to Dr. Henry, but he.
Well, the answer I have is probably not something I should say in an open meeting, so I'm going to pass that off to Stuart.
Oh, thank you. Of course, we believe that safety and security is going to be a hot topic at during the legislative session. I don't know that we've seen a bill yet that's filed, that has been filed that speaks to that, but we are pretty confident that it will be there. I know that the governor has provided a kind of a white paper in terms of what he is proposing on security and safety, but what we want to do is, and we're far ahead of what even the governor wants done statewide with safety and security. And we want to be a model district. We want to be able to provide the highest level of safety for our students and our staff across our district. And so it's important for us, as we utilize the third-party consulting firm of True North, that they really look at our facilities and our processes and procedures to make sure that we're not missing anything, that we're shoring up any area that could be a soft point. So I think that whatever we do with safety and security, and particularly as we've indicated in this bond proposal, would provide us with the utmost level of safety for our campuses, and provide us and be able to be the model district that other districts in the state of Texas look to in terms of what we're going to be doing.
Mr. Jackson, just to add to that, not included in this bond proposal is Cypher ISD's on the cutting edge of hiring psychologists and counselors. In fact, the Commissioner of Education is scheduled to come visit with our counseling and psychology team. His exact words, and I didn't even tell him about our program. He said Cypher ISD is so far ahead on that end of the spectrum, along with hardening of campuses and improving procedures. But I think we're going to be a model district, not only in what we do at the campus level as far as our facilities, but also we're going to be the model on how with our mental health intervention teams, we're going to be the model on how to prevent things from happening in the first place. So I feel really good about where we are.
And a good thorough answer. Y'all have presented to the board before that the approach is to have multiple layers on security. And it's always good for us to remind the viewing audience that there's more than just a hard stop. There are other preventive steps that must be taken. I certainly agree with not waiting to see what Austin will do for us from a security standpoint, but the question does have to be asked because we know that they are in fact talking about it. I guess back to you, Roy. This has to do with transportation, which is also a significant dollar amount in this proposal. 8 years ago, Christine and I toured the bus barns, and we spoke to the folks about repair, and we also spoke at that time about useful life. The manufacturer's useful life was right at 12 years, and we were keeping our buses 15 years. I know that I have followed up with other visits and have found that the newer engines, being more complicated, don't last as long as those engines that did before. So what is our anticipated life cycle for the buses that are included in this proposal?
What's recommended is a 12-year replacement cycle for our buses. There's new technology being added to the buses now, safety features, 3-point lap seat belts and things like that. And in talking with the Pupil Association, the recommendation now is to utilize a 12-year replacement cycle on our buses.
And how would that compare if we went back to the old approach of 15 years and we just put more money into maintenance and repair?
One of the things, in fact, the committee even asked us during this process that Julie could probably comment on is we were asked to actually provide a replacement schedule for 12, 13, 14, and 15 year. And it turned out the 12-year option is actually cheaper because as we staged the replacement of the buses throughout the 4 or 5 years, inflationary impact and changes to buses and so forth, the prices were increasing. So it actually became much more economical for us to use the 12-year cycle versus a 15-year replacement for new buses.
Just points out the thorough job the committee did, so thank you again. Stuart, that there is a small variance between the projected life, and I understand these are projections in here and not what will actually go to the public on transportation. Is that anything for us to be more than have passing awareness of?
No, sir, it's insignificant. We projected at 15 years, and as Roy mentioned, actually the 12-year replacement schedule provided a cheaper way to go, and so we left it at 15 years because that gives us a little bit more cushion in terms of the conservative nature of some of those assumptions. And so we left it at 15 years because, again, that was a little bit more conservative as opposed to the 12.
Let's move now to our instructional technology. 8 years ago, when Christine and I were running for the board, one of the areas that we campaigned on is our technology was dysfunctional. It just plain did not work. We were behind other districts. I'm proud to say now that we lead other districts in technology, and I have the opportunity to make presentations in different districts, so I get to see what technology they actually have in the classrooms. And as we make our walkthroughs, we can see the technology at work. So we know that the technology now works, and it works everywhere. We also know where, on the few cases where it doesn't work, it has to do with situations where the technology closets perhaps have been used as storage closets, which always happens. But the technology infrastructure is in fact secure. Merely having technology, the question is, does it enhance our students' ability going forth, or is this merely something that we do keeping up with the Joneses?
Mr. Jackson, certainly in the proposal, there is a replacement of the technology. We have a 5-year cycle, and we've looked at the 5-year cycle for a couple of reasons. One is once you get past 5 years, it's hard to find the parts for the technology. As you know, it's ever changing, and then secondly, the warranty. They won't really provide warranties past the 5 years. So certainly the replacement is there, but we've also provided some enhancement in the package for our teachers. We have the great Promethean boards that our students and teachers use, but our teachers are tethered to the Promethean boards right now. So they have to be right there in front with them. They can't be with students who are needing support while they're teaching. And so there's a device there that will help with that, where they will no longer be tethered. So there's some enhancements in there as well.
And let me ask the question a little differently. You're an educator. Would you say the use of the Promethean boards enhances teaching? Does it enhance learning? Or is it merely a replacement for what used to be a whiteboard or a blackboard or chalkboard?
No, it enhances the instruction in the classroom. It enhances the small group instruction that happens even with students in the classroom. So it's the teaching part, but it's also the student part.
That has certainly been my observation in touring the classrooms, and I fully expect big benefits from technology to appear farther down the road. When we talk about our technology infrastructure, talk a little bit about the replacement cycle for that. And is Paula here, or?
Yes, Paula?
And the reason why I picked on that is that's an $80 million number.
Yes, sir, Mr. Jackson, it is. As you recall, when we worked through the 2014 bond, as Stuart mentioned, we had to refresh our entire infrastructure. With the plan going forward, we will not immediately need to start that, but in order to support the technology in the classroom, we need to keep that infrastructure refreshed. So we will work through and phase that approach for the upgrades.
And what is the life cycle of that infrastructure?
We are planning on a 7 to 8, possibly 10-year life cycle.
When I went online and went into the Cisco site, it seemed to indicate the life cycle was a little shorter than that, more like 5 to 6 years. So are we confident that we can stretch that life cycle?
Yes, sir, we are. We reached out to Cisco, we reached out to Hewlett-Packard, several of our strategic partners, and that is the number 7 to 10 that they all confirmed.
Excellent. I also note that we've enhanced our cybersecurity.
We did.
And once again, it's sad that we have to do it, but I'm glad that we have the information there. One final question for you. Technology is wonderful, but when we underfund technology, all of a sudden it creates all kinds of problems for us that are difficult to overcome. Are you satisfied with the committee's decision on the amount of technology in the budget?
Yes, sir. Part of that infrastructure will address the cybersecurity needs as well. When we refresh our firewalls with traditional networks, you have a firewall that usually is around the perimeter of your network. Now with the Internet of Things, the holes within the network are coming internal to the network. So with a combination of the money that's allocated for cybersecurity plus our infrastructure refresh, I think we can meet those needs.
I noticed in the detail that there was provided and the committee approved a contingency factor.
Yes, sir.
Back when I was relevant in technology, one thing I remember is things always cost more than you thought they would.
Yes, sir. That is
thank
true.
you.
Thank you.
John, that concludes my questions on the work the committee did and the different hard items that we're purchasing. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else? All right. Tonight also allows for public comments. If we have any of our citizens here tonight that would like to comment on what has been presented by our long-range planning committee, we sure would like to hear from you. And Leslie, would you, Leslie is back there. You have to sign up with her. And do we have anyone tonight?
You know Craig. You know Craig, come on.
Come on, Craig.
Hi, my name's Craig Sharp. I was not on the Long Range Planning Committee this year, so that gives me an insight into what, and I did stay home and watched it all and looked at it all. As Stacy told me, I did go online and go back and watched all the video that was given to them to look at and what they gave to us to look at. So I have a little structure. I do support the bond and what you're going to do with it. I thought it was going to be more, which would have been fine with me. I know there's not going to be, I thought there was going to be another high school in that, but I guess not, maybe later. But I do want us to look at, we always try to say what Katie's doing and what Fort Bend's doing. I'm sorry, there's only 2 other districts in this state that we line up with, and that's Houston and Dallas. We are the 3rd largest and soon to be maybe the 2nd largest. We have to look at those and what they have. their ISC, what their theater arts programs are. We have to compare ourselves with them and not with the smaller districts in here. So that's why I want to say, look at the larger districts, look at Dallas and Houston, and that's where we need to be at, is with them. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make one comment, just so people in the viewing audience and our committee knows this, but there will be a 13th high school. It's just outside the 2025 scope of this bond program.
Okay. All right, our next speaker. And please tell us your name when you start.
Absolutely.
3 minutes.
My name is Anthony Torres. I am a senior at Cy Falls High School. Not sure really what I'm supposed to say here, but I'll just, on behalf of the committee, I'll start with a few thank yous. Thank you, Mr. Rowe, for the first public speaking opportunity that I got, and Ms. Denton and Mr. Garcia for the opportunity to serve on this board. I really do appreciate it. What I also appreciate is, and look forward to, is being able to share this information that we've gathered as a community, as a district, with the rest of the community that wasn't here tonight, that wasn't a part of the decision and the proposal to the board, and educating them on what this proposal and bond will do for the future of the district and the community and the state in a larger picture. And with all that being said, I guess I look forward to what this future has. Oh, actually, the opportunity for all is what I wanted to say with the Performing Arts Center, with the ISC, is that from the 28 campuses to the 68 that have gone, the growth that we have in the northwest sector of our district is that centralizing the Performance Arts Center and the new ISC, which, like we said, is going to get most of our backlash with this proposal, just for y'all to know and for y'all to be able to educate your neighbors, your neighborhood, is that there is no better location for this in the center of the district. It truly is, and it'll provide that opportunity for all, like we've mentioned multiple times. CFI ISD spirit, and there's no better way to do it than putting the center of the district where it truly is. So thank y'all.
It is so good to hear from a student perspective also. And thank you for your participation with this long-range planning committee. All right, come on up.
So this was my first time to be on the long-range planning committee. It was real eye-opening and a wonderful experience with all of these folks. One thing that we took into consideration for this bond was giving something for everyone. We were able to affect every walk of life through our bond. Band is getting new band towers. Baseball is getting new fields. I mean, everyone, anything a student can do, we were able to provide some sort of improvement for them. And even in that other side, when we're taking out things, the things that we took out, for instance, security, some of the bulletproof glass, we thought about, someone had brought up fire hazard. If you have bulletproof glass around the entire school, then how do the students get out? So we literally went into many details, many long hours of, what was best for our students. And then the financial aspect, when we came to our number and we got those tax rate, the tax increase, it seems so minimal for the safety that we're providing for our children, but also their futures and how they can move forward and use things in life, especially the Performing Arts Center and stuff like that. And again, locating everything central to the district, next to Cypher High School, made it easier for everyone. So I love this committee. I love what we did, and I'm very proud of it. So I hope the community gets behind it as well.
Give us your name, please.
Tanya Jakey. I'm sorry, I'm Tanya Jakey.
All right. I think that is it. Again, thank you. Thank you, Julie. Great report. And we look forward to the future. And the future is worth looking forward to because of your work. God bless you. We're adjourned.
you.